Hi folks, it's Dr. Swanberg. We are getting ready to review for our final exam. You are in the home stretch, and I'm just going to go over what's going to be on the exam with you. It's going to be great. There's even a little pep talk at the end. So how to review for the final exam with some tips for how to study effectively. This time your test is in just one part. The midterm had two parts, but the final exam just has one part. The test is worth 200 points. That's a lot of points, so it's a big deal. This is a comprehensive exam. That means it tests your knowledge and understanding of all of the concepts from this course's textbook and lectures, both pre and post midterm, the novel we've read and the vocabulary we've learned, all of it. It is a closed book exam, so you should not have any books or notes with you when you take the test, and you must take the test through ProctorU. It contains 120 questions. 115 are multiple choice, and 5 of them are short answer questions. 50 of these questions are vocabulary words. So altogether, those are 200 points. So out of the 115, 50 of those are multiple choice for the vocabulary, and the others are multiple choice for the concepts that we've learned. And then 5 of them are short answer questions. Because some elements of the test, the 5 short answer questions in particular, have to be graded by your instructor, you will not get immediate grade on your test. I know in the midterm I did set it up so that you got an immediate grade for at least part of your exam. This time you're just going to have to wait for me to read those 5 short answer questions, but I'll get to them as quickly as I can. You'll know your grade absolutely within 1 week sooner if I can get to it sooner. You're a top priority for me, so I'm going to get to them as soon as I can. You will receive an email when grades are complete for this test, and you don't have to ask me. You are my #1 priority. I'm going to get to it as soon as I can, so you don't have to email to ask. I promise. I'm getting to it as fast as I can. What does the test cover? The test covers active reading practices, topic, main idea, and supporting details, inference, tone and purpose, figurative language, fact versus opinion, point of view and bias, and vocabulary lists 1 through 5, and the island of Dr. Moreau. So all of these things are fair game. How do I study for the test? First and foremost, review your quizzes. Your quizzes are an excellent gauge of how ready you are for this test. If you did well on the quizzes, you're going to do just fine on this test. If you struggled on one of the quizzes, that's an area to review. If you were heavily relying on notes to take the quizzes, please make sure that you can answer the questions on the quizzes without your notes now, because it's time to have a closed book quiz. So make sure that you're not relying on notes to answer the same kinds of questions that you see on those quizzes, and you should be just fine. You should review your chapters in the Art of Critical Reading, go through the units and see which chapters they were and review those again. Review your video lectures. Make some note cards to help memorize key vocabulary and key concepts. And then reread vital sections of the novel so that they're fresh in your mind. You also might want to go back through some of the discussion threads to see if there was something that we discussed that you want to spend a little bit more time looking at that discussion. I'll also open up a discussion thread for this week so that y'all are able to kind of form little study groups through that discussion thread. All right. Let's remind ourselves what a note card looks like. Let's talk about something from our figurative language lesson this time, simile. So on the front of your cards, just the word simile. On the back is just a comparison using like or as, which is the definition. And in this case, I put an example on. I can't possibly eat anymore. I'm full as a tick. And that's a simile we've all heard, I'm quite sure. All right. So again, little bits of information on note cards, lots and lots of note cards, but little bits of information on each one. Don't overload a note card or it's not going to help you study very effectively. Here's another sample note card with one of our vocabulary words, the word tepid, lukewarm, or moderately warm. I would also want to make sure that I could use tepid in a sentence. In other words, nobody likes a tepid bath. We all like them to be hot. Something like that. So make sure that you can pronounce it, use it in a sentence, recognize how it's typically used. What do I do with the note cards? A reminder, we did this for the midterm, but this is still a really effective method for studying these key concepts and for the vocabulary. Once you've made all your note cards, and there should be a big, big batch of them, you put them in a big bowl, a bigger bowl than for the midterm. You stir the bowl, you pull out a card, no matter what side is facing you, you try to guess what's on the other side. If you guess correctly and quickly, set the card aside. That one's good, you know it. If you guess incorrectly, or if you have to think about it for a long time, read each side of the card aloud 3 times, put it back in the bowl, and stir the bowl. So simile, a comparison using like or as. Simile, a comparison using like or as. Simile, comparison using like or as, and then back in the bowl. Stir the bowl, pick again, and repeat the process until you know everything in that bowl cold. All right. What about the short answer questions? This time it's not a separate section, they're mixed in, so be prepared to answer a short answer question at any time. I believe they're at the end, and I believe that I did not randomize the questions, so they should come toward the end of the test. The short answer questions ask you to apply the concepts from the art of critical reading, perhaps discuss an issue in the Island of Dr. Moreau, and to make connections between those two things. In other words, if there's some figurative language appearing in the Island of Dr. Moreau, I might ask you about that. I might simply ask you to explain a concept in your own words. I might ask you to see how a term applies to the novel, The Island of Dr. Moreau. Or you might be asked to read a short passage from the novel and answer some questions about what you've read. And these passages are more likely to come from the end of the novel. So make sure that you can discuss all those concepts from the art of critical reading all by yourself, and that you can talk about the Island of Dr. Moreau without looking at it. If you are asked to deal with a specific passage from the book, it will be provided for you, so you don't need to bring any notes or books with you to the test. You can practice for the short answer questions. We went over this for the midterm as well. Reread vital passages in the novel so that the novel is short in your mind. Reread passages from the art of critical reading so that those are fresh in your mind. Review discussion board threads. Review the video lectures. Brainstorm some questions for yourself. Put them in a bowl and stir. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Select a question from the bowl and see if you can write a 5-sentence answer in 5 minutes time. Using another way to do it would be to take some of your flashcards from the terms and see if you can talk about that flashcard for 5 minutes on paper, or see if you can apply that term to the novel. So just use the note cards you've already got and grab one out of the bowl and say, hey, can I apply what this says to the Island of Dr. Moreau, or can I explain this concept in 5 sentences? Can I give an example of this concept in 5 sentences? Just use those note cards that you've already got to really make sure that you can explain things at a little bit more length. Okay? And the last thing I've got for you is a pep talk. I love this guy. He's going to give us a pep talk. Are you ready?
People, let's go back to teachers. Teachers who have students.